Hi, everybody. This is Chloe Hudson with World Peace Projects. Thank you so much for joining me. So, today's topic, we're going to get back to some of the communications about living beyond this lifetime, this timeline, this earth realm. It's been a long time since I've talked to you guys about my views and experiences with extraterrestrials and interdimensionals and the like. It is quite prevalent now with the information that's being revealed to the mainstream public that we do not walk alone, live alone on this planet. We obviously have visitors that come and go, and not all, even elements or things that we would consider nature, minerals, rocks, what have you, many of these things have long been proven to be extraterrestrial, which simply means the origin point of it is not of Earth's components originally. Those of you that believe yourselves to be a starseed, that are metaphysical, that are spiritual, new age, what have you, have a philosophical vantage point wherein you perceive yourself to be an infinite energetic being that has a spirit and a soul that lives on beyond this physical body. You may have an understanding or belief and or have heard this often enough, especially if you are in a modality where you offer intuitive or spiritual assistance to clients and those that seek you out. It's a common difficulty and hardship in perspectives of those that are very unhappy with their incarnation here. And even if they've made peace with their incarnation, they've possibly already made a decision that this is the last one. They're not coming back. And if they could leave, if they could vaporize, if they could beam them up, Scotty, they would be out of here lickety-split. And I understand this perspective. There's been times in my life where I also had this perspective. And I want to talk about the dangers of this perspective. Because from my perspective, from my viewpoint, and all of this is my viewpoint as usual, is that while we're aware that we live on a planet that has a matrix overlay, there's a holographic simulation that we are all participating in. Many of us view that we're trapped in, we're enslaved to, what have you. We're still on the planet Earth, that our body is made up of her elements. Her biology is our biology. Her DNA, in many ways, is our DNA. Now, for my belief system, this is a nursery planet. I deem her as relatively young as planets go in celestial bodies. She's come a long way. I perceive that there's been many versions of her, and more original versions of her were much more pure, were more rarefied, were more harmonious for all of her children, all of the kingdoms, in a stronger symbiosis. And unfortunately, that's not the case at this time. Though I'd like to point out a very important PSYOP, psychological operation is how I perceive it. We've talked about this before, that what I just generally deem the controllers has placed over and onto those that have a metaphysical perspective, that are seeking a higher consciousness, that have beliefs in incarnations in other planets, whether you perceive yourself to be a starseed of another planet beyond, before, simultaneously through this incarnation. I understand that we can have deep-rooted connections to other celestial bodies, other dimensions, other timelines, other aspects of our soul, and even other beings that we may view ourselves to be simultaneously in another interdimensional space and time, another planet, what have you. And at the same time, it's very important for our inheritance of our free will and sovereignty to claim your mother. Earth Mother is in dire straits, as she's been for a very long time. She's a fighter, man. She pushes through. She watches and experiences day in and day out, losing beautiful creations of her species that are simply going extinct, the degradation and desecration of what is sacred and special to her. She's a mother. She caretakes all of her children, regardless of if it's a human biological child or if it's a child of her crystalline community. All of us, through her eyes and in her heart, as I perceive and have experienced through her, we are all sacred, special, and deeply loved through her. Now, we've studied karma for several months now on this channel, and a really intriguing perspective of karma that I've been offering up is how we can first look at the karmic implications we may have as a human on Earth. We look at the karmic implications we have as an inheritor of our physical DNA through genealogy, family bloodlines. We can expand out onto the karma of mass consciousness. And then we can expand more into the karmic implications. If you believe in soul inheritance and spirit inheritance, it can continue on and on. I perceive karma to have the same macro expansive effect throughout the celestial bodies. Just like I view my life and my incarnations to be that I'm continuously efforting and working to move up through the ladder, so to speak, to up-level my mastery, my understanding in being a creator being and the responsibilities required for that, and revealing to me my pitfalls and downfalls, which equal the lessons that I have decided I would like to learn as a soul incarnate, whether it be in this timeline, this version of Earth, another one, another planet, another dimension, what have you. I perceive it the same for celestial bodies. Earth Mother is also moving through her karmic implications and efforting to graduate into a higher level of her existence and expansion. I perceive this planet originally was meant to be or manifest into a nursery planet. She was and is still a very lush, beautiful body that called in many different DNA groupings from other planetary bodies, celestial bodies, dimensions, what have you. We have many remnants of this, whether it be actual artifacts, whether it be the Rh negative blood markers that every human on this planet has, even if they're not dominant markers in your blood type. We have minerals, we have asteroids, we have all sorts of things that science has allowed information to come out that did not originate from this planetary body. There's tons of remnants like that. It's easy to understand this if we start looking at immigration through any country. That might not have been the country that you were born into or your parents were born into, though it's where you have immigrated to now. Expand this out on a celestial body level. Astrologically speaking, there is a story offered to us through history and what is to come in the future and is in the present that also can be viewed through karmic implications and understandings. Evolution is constantly happening, whether it's an ascension or a descension experience. And if you have studied the yugas, the time frames throughout existence, you may have a perspective that just depending on the eon in which you're existing in, you may be on an ascension or possibly a descension, which is not necessarily an implication of where you are in your spirit and soul progression, is a way to explain it. So it's quite a common complaint or disconcerting experience that many of us that are aligned with philosophies that view incarnations and understand and open into the allowance and existence of other beings from other planetary bodies and dimensionalities and other timelines of Earth, what have you. There is often a very deep rooted pain that becomes prevalent in your consciousness when you're doing spiritual seeking, that you're not happy on this earth. You don't enjoy this incarnation. You're fighting through it. It's a drudgery. And next time you won't be back, right? I get that perspective. We can have that perspective in many avenues of our life, whether that be a smaller vantage point where the community you live in, or expanding it all the way out to planetary implications. In the past, we've talked about the psychological operations that I generally term the controllers have imposed onto us quite a long time ago relative to a human length of time in this incarnation. A very dangerous and underlying psyop that I've been looking at lately is the imposed belief system, which is backed by and made up of thoughts and feelings, experiences of other timelines, possibly holographic inserts, and then social awareness that seems to support this belief system that this isn't where you want to be now. And there's a huge issue with this. Not only, of course, and obviously speaking, is that showing you that you're not accepting and surrendered to the experience that you're in real time, which will make it difficult for you to have consistent peace, harmony within your being and your experience, and open up into the more intriguing aspects of life, whether you judge them to be negative or positive. Beyond that understanding, there's a denial of the law of your free will. Lots of us believe that we were ensnared into the incarnation recycle station, is what I like to call it, the matrix trap, right? Some of us believe that we chose to come here. We're on a mission. We have a soul purpose and we're dedicated to it. A lot of us perceive that we are frontliners and we're here for a very specific purpose. And man, oh man, is this the epic end-all battle that's going to change the trajectory of not just this universe, but multiverses alike, with what's going to play out on the microscope focus on our planet, our Earth Mother, at this time while we're incarnate, or possibly our children are. It runs the gamut, but in general, within many of these types of spiritual metaphysical perspectives, is quite a deep-rooted belief system often that you're not happy here, you don't want to be here, maybe you partially got duped into it, maybe you bit off more than you could chew and you were soul planning, you got here and you're like, uh-oh, this is a lot, right? The issue I'm having with this at this time is this belief system immediately fractures the law of free will in regard to you being able to personally and individually anchor your sovereignty and command, implement, and hold strong to your free will. If you are unhappy with your mother as Earth, with your incarnation, with feeling in some fashion or form that you're victimized by this experience, then there's a resistance and a relinquishing of your ability to expand into your reclamation of your free will. And beyond that, being able to anchor fully into that, own it, implement it, command it around your reality and within your life experience, and stand in sovereignty through and through, which is a highly protective and required force when it is that you are efforting to command your legacy and own your domain, not just physically, not just energetically, but also mentally, emotionally, sexually, financially, etherically, what have you. There's an implemented fracturing that already throws one off kilter, that is a devaluing point and a way in which we can't fully step onto the foundation of being fully in the law and owning your free will and sovereignty when you are resistant and maybe bitter or resentful or just downtrodden about your incarnation on earth at this time. You are of her body. So cyclically speaking, karmically speaking, what she goes through on a macro experience, humans in general, not necessarily personally in every experience consciously, we go through as well, and vice versa. When we are claiming her as her mother and understanding the inheritance of her biology and her legacy, the assistance that she offers to us, and also the vulnerability that she holds, which is a requirement in order for her to keep her energetic heart open and hold her family unit within that protective love. She knows that if she were to harden her energetics and put up defense mechanisms and more boundaries and, take a fighting stance in certain ways, it would require her to blockade her heart, which would mean that her children would not have as much access to the nurturance, the abundance, and the love that she offers. So in turn, it is the same for her. When we deny this inheritance as sacred, as special, and is quite rarefied from my perspective, then we disempower ourselves and in turn her. In order, from my belief, to command free will and sovereignty and continue on a trajectory in which you're owning that and you're claiming it so thoroughly within your makeup, within your biology, with your energetic frequency, within the protections offered to you through spirit, and commanding that you are spirit embodying more and more, you must claim and own, represent, and be proud of, and so enthusiastic for the inheritance of being an earthling. Many of us do not perceive our earthling inheritance as our dominant inheritance, and I fully understand that. Though, regardless of how you may align in your perspective as a majority experience of a being, so for example, let's say you believe yourself to be Assyrian and Orion incarnate onto this earth planet, and you prefer to look at yourself as more predominantly Syrian and Orion and less of an earthling, you're more just a visitor here, which very well may be true for you. Nevertheless, you're here. You can choose to utilize the benefits of being an earthling and the responsibilities of being an earthling through your incarnation, through her energetic womb, and what that means for you. And if you choose not to, which is of your own volition and free will, then you may not be able to utilize the full benefits of the inheritance because of the law of manifestation. Whatever we resist persists. So if you're resisting your full claiming, your full legacy of being earthling, you will continue to receive resistance of that reclamation. You will not be opened into the full utilization of what all she has to offer, which is your free will. I perceive she would much rather you embody all that she has to offer, because not only does she love you unconditionally and fighting non-stop eons and eons and rounds of earth incarnations, dimensionalities, frequency shifting, she is making it through just like we are. She's constantly caretaking to her highest capacity all of her children, and also protecting us and providing for us, but there's symbiosis here. In order for her to do her best job, which is her highest desire, in my perspective, we must do ours. So if we're denying our mother and our planetary inheritance, then she's not going to be able to show up at full capacity, because the way in which she has allowed the agreements, from my perspective, of planetary incarnations is that of free will. I personally do not perceive that, generally speaking, majority of incarnations on other celestial bodies and through other timelines and dimensionalities are that of this type of free will. I perceive, and have talked to Earth Mother about this years ago, that she chose a very specialized and not often journeyed experience through the way in which she took on karma and the law of free will and sovereignty. She wanted a different experience. This opens up our ability for diversity and choices in a way that other planetary beings and bodies and celestial incarnations may not have. It also opens her up to a lot of riffraff, a lot of possibility of her devaluation, her dissension, the fall, and those that want to take, because they can of their own free will and volition, they have the ability to some capacity to do so. Not without karmic implications, though, a lot of people, a lot of energies want a quick fix. She did this, allowed herself to be susceptible, because from her perspective, she wanted to experience her incarnation very uniquely and also offer this up to her children. So, from my viewpoint, when we're holding and harboring resentment and disappointment and victimization and drudgery and burden, however it is for you, of being disappointed and bummed and not fully satisfied with your incarnation, whether you perceive that to be your choice or you were forced into it, then you are susceptible to a hack of your sovereignty and free will that has been imposed very strategically by the controllers. It's like a plan B. You've woken up to a certain extent where you actually perceive you exist beyond this flesh blood vessel bucket, right? This flesh body. Though you're still enslaved and imprisoned in a way through the incarnation that you don't desire and would change up possibly if you had the opportunity in this now moment. That's disempowering, and that gives them command and utilization of the parts of your free will that you're not accessing, even if it's just generally energetically speaking. So I invite you to take some food for thought here around, are you able to protect yourself and command your sovereignty and free will to your full capacity through your belief systems as an earthling? Many of us are very excited and anticipating what is to come with the, in my perspective, inevitable revealments of all of the different interdimensionals and extraterrestrials, when we're finally going to open up to a experience where we understand that just like on planetary immigration, travel, vacation, and experiences, it's the same in a certain way with other dimensionals and extraterrestrials. It's been happening for a very long time, but now it's finally open to the public. When we do that, how are we going to show up as ambassadors of Earth? How are we going to represent our planet and ensure that we protect the rights that we would like to hold as an incarnated Earthling, as a planetary citizen that is our legacy? How do we offer what it is we have to share with those that would like to enjoy it and seek it, and at the same time reciprocate what it is that they have to offer that can assist us and our planet alike? So I just want to put out there to take care around this, because also if you're somebody like me, you believe that this incarnation, more than most throughout the entire existence of all of the earth rounds and rotations that she's ever had throughout all of the dimensionalities, this is the most rarefied, the most impressionable, and the most important incarnation, not just for her children, her planet, and her existence and our existence, but for the universe, the multiverses, the galaxy, the solar system alike. And it pivots around us. I find this to be a very powerful and special time to be incarnated. And I also believe that it was not necessarily the easiest thing to get into this incarnation if we were not already stuck in the incarnation recycle station. I believe that there is a slew of souls and spirits and energies and entities that are chomping at the bit to get in. Just like I think there's a slew of beings that are pushing through to try to manifest through the womb because they want to be a part of what's happening right now. It's a very special and powerful time. They want to be able to say that they were a part of this, that they experienced it, that they had something to offer, that they could support or at least witness. So how much of your belief systems and perspectives are devaluing what is on offer for you, not only through experiential vantage point, but also through your ability to protect yourself through free will and sovereignty, to protect yourself through all of your bodies and your timelines and existences. Because I also perceive that your PowerPoint, all beings' PowerPoints, is their now moment. From now moment, from present time, is how we access all other timelines and manifestations into any other space and time where you simultaneously exist. So if we're not here now fully anchored into free will and sovereignty, or at least striving to do so, then we're leaving all other timelines and access points and energies and incarnations and manifestations of our unique frequency signature vulnerable in some capacity to their own sovereignty and protection. Regardless if you perceive those incarnations and interdimensional aspects or higher self or what have you are more ascended, evolved, more protected, and on point. We are all one, so it all matters. Your mother is fighting day in and day out to hold her heart open, even though it is currently killing her. This planet, through this dimensionality and matrix perspective, is dying. And we all know that it's at our own hand, speaking mass consciously, through karmic mass conscious implications. That's how I see it. When we stand up for what we perceive and we protect our family, it supports her and it helps her to continue to keep her heart open, to provide for all of her family, all of her children, and also to be strong and resilient in what she requires to continue to stave off those that just want to take from her. Those that want to take from her will also be experienced in some capacity to the mass consciousness of those that want to take from us. So I hope that this has served and has reached some of you. And remember, I perceive that your inheritance as an earthling is extremely rare. It's highly valuable. And hopefully in our lifetime, we will be able to consciously understand, possibly remember, and or bear witness to how protected, how valuable, how sought after, and how special it is. I think there will be a time where it comes that it's very obvious how honored and elevated the inheritance as an earthling is, not just by those on earth, but many, many different types of celestial incarnations, interdimensionals, extraterrestrials, what have you. And I hope that happens in a way that is enjoyable and is eye-opening in a beautiful way that offers us another type of harmonic convergence into an understanding experientially of us as one and the power behind that. There is so much power and protection you can utilize through anchoring more into your free will and your sovereignty. It is something that you command and you expand on continuously within your frequency makeup. And if you are a believer in manifestation and you also perceive that you are a creator being in your own right, that it is your responsibility to own that frequency and hold it within your field, and that offers an extraordinary amount of protection. And also you're asking for help. You're asking your guidance. You're asking your spirit. You're asking Earth Mother. You're asking your subconscious. You're asking ancestors to assist and support you to be more in your sovereignty, your protection, and your free will. And you are open to releasing faulty belief systems that may be subconsciously keeping you from being more and more in your truth and protecting self. And also the trust in which comes with understanding when your frequency is more and more aligned with sovereignty, what you attract and magnetize shifts exponentially. And when things come towards you or are sent to you or what have you that have malevolent, negative, harmful effects, devaluing, or not assisting of your experience, then this sovereignty energy can deflect it before you're even conscious that it's come your way. And you don't even need to be conscious. That's too much energy expending in other ways that you don't need to pay attention to. But you've got the protection in your field so you can trust and sit back into the understanding that you're good, you're taken care of, you're protected. And when something unbeknownst to you is coming towards you that you may need to be aware of, Spirit, Earth Mother, and all that you are will notify you through your intuition or possibly something bigger, because you are owning and commanding the law of free will and sovereignty. And that's just how it reciprocates. If you are interested in one-on-one coaching, classes, courses, or sessions, please check out my website, World Peace Projects. I hope you're doing fantastic. Bye, guys.